The topic we're discussing now is like passions and like what we're passionate about. Do you guys want to jump right into it? Like share what you guys are like passionate or interested in?
Sure.
Okay, who wants to start?
Okay, I can go first.
Okay.
Okay. Well, actually, would you mind going first? Like talking, because I'm not really sure.
Yeah, for sure. Of course. So I think I'm like pretty passionate about like people and like human connection. I'm passionate about like understanding people and just like deeper, meaningful conversation. I've kind of incorporated that into content creation, which I think I also am passionate about, just because I think YouTube is a really great medium for authentically expressing yourself and impacting others through your content. Like you can, I feel like hopefully you can like influence others in like a meaningful way through what you create. And I feel like there's always a purpose behind every video and every detail that's put into it, like every edit, every like creative choice, like everything that goes into it, and it's just a meaningful form of self-expression. I also I like entrepreneurship, and I think I always focus on like the bigger picture and like the general impact and the purpose behind what I'm doing. So I think like starting things, like starting a business that solves a really big problem is like really meaningful in my eyes. And yeah, just like creating things out of scratch, I think that's like really fun to do.
Okay, thank you. I think I'm passionate about helping people, which is so stereotypical and like cliche, I know that, but like especially where I live right now, no matter what you do, you run into people who clearly desperately need help, you know? And I think that also what's going on in the world right now, you can kind of see all of these countries where people are genuinely suffering, and it makes me think about like the ways that I was raised, and how lucky I've been to have the childhood and the life that I have, and also like the resources even that I have, you know? And so I'm very passionate about like community service and things like that. I work at or I guess I volunteer sometimes at like shelters and things like that, and it's really upsetting sometimes because people, you know, there's always that feeling that I wish I could just save someone, but you can't. You can only do what you have the means to like do you know what I mean? You can only do so much, but I'm still really passionate about it because so much might mean the difference between somebody living and dying sometimes, you know? So that, on a way lighter note, I'm also really passionate about music. I love listening to music, but I also, like I said, I play the piano, and I really enjoy writing music. So it's just something that I enjoy for myself. It's not really something that I like share with anyone else, but it makes me feel a lot more relaxed just constantly. It's a really big stress reliever for me, especially during school. So it's something that I feel very strongly about, you know?
Awesome.
Yeah.
In terms of like the impacting people, I would agree that like every little action you take matters a lot.
Yeah.
Like every small action has like a huge ripple effect.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's important to have like good intentions.
Yeah,
and to try the best we can.
And I think there are things that like people might see as less meaningful, maybe. Like for example, there's a YouTube channel. I actually don't know the name of the guy at all, but he goes around and like cuts people's hair, in a not creepy way. I know that sounds really strange, but like he'll find people living on the streets and offer to cut their hair if they would like. And they almost always, the videos, they seem really happy at the end, and it's just it seems really, it's such a small thing, but like being able to help someone like that is so, it's just very compassionate, you know, to even think of doing something like that. And I think it's really meaningful, even though it might seem small. So.
Yeah. I also really like your energy. Like I feel like you have a very nice energy. Yeah. So nice. And both of you do.
Thank you.
Oh yeah. I think one thing that I especially realized like going into college, because I think in terms of what I was studying, one of the like questions I had, like choosing a major and like choosing like what direction I wanted to go. I study biology right now, but more specifically like genetics and plant biology. And I think the way I kind of ended up on this path was really random, but also like I'm really lucky to have found like something so specific that I ended up being really passionate and interested in, because I was kind of I really loved studying biology, but I kind of realized that like going to medical school, especially in the United States, it's like a really expensive process, it's a lengthy process, and I kind of didn't know if I was like passionate enough to keep on that course for so long, especially just with like how high stress and high like cost it ends up being. And I feel like when I was in like high school and stuff, I didn't really know any other paths like with biology other than like in the health or medical profession or to like do research, which I also didn't think I was really like interested in like doing research like that. But I ended up, when I started studying plant biology, one of like my biggest interests ended up becoming agriculture, because I was also really interested in environmental sciences, just climate change. There's so many sort of effects that come from it that disproportionately affect communities around the world. And my family's from India, so that's a place where a lot of like weather and climate like impacts have really affected food production and kind of affected hunger, especially for like impoverished communities. And so when I kind of started getting more into studying agriculture, there's so many things about agriculture that with modern technology, especially with like gene editing and like there's obviously a lot of like fear around it and stuff, but with a lot of our modern technology and understanding of science, there's a lot of ways that we can make agriculture a more efficient process with less impacts on the environment, and in order to produce higher yields for people in need. And that's definitely an interest that I've been working towards like throughout college, because it's like something I'm passionate about, both in like the science behind it and also just doing like pursuing science in order to create a positive change on the world. Because I think there's also a lot of things where like morals, like for example, like there's a lot of ways you can study science but maybe not do the best thing to help the world. But I think I really wanted to make sure that like when I was studying this, I wanted to help to deal with problems, because I think as a generation living through climate change, where things are still relatively fine, especially in the United States, where like we're not as affected by climate change events yet. I think it's our responsibility as like citizens of this world, especially in the scientific community, to work towards like just bettering this world for like future generations and for people who are disproportionately affected.
Yeah, I really like how you're like super grounded on like the moral aspect of it, and you're like passionate about that. I also agree that we do have a responsibility to do like the right thing and to try to help in as many ways as we possibly can, like hopefully utilize our individual strengths to like contribute to the world around us.
Right.
And yeah, you sound very passionate about it. You like know a lot. Yeah.
I think it was definitely something where like once again I kind of really stumbled onto this path. I didn't really like, I had no idea about like plant biology before I started studying it, but I was really lucky to have like randomly picked a major that I ended up really loving. So that was
that's
like,
really great. Yeah, happy for you. And do you guys believe in pursuing your passions for a living?
Yes. I think I got really lucky. My dad grew up really, really poor. And so one of the things for him about his career was that he wanted to be able to, just like make money and support a family and things like that, because his family was on government housing in the country that he was born. So like they couldn't afford a house or anything like that. But because of that, I don't think that he ended up choosing a career path that was about happiness and passion. It was more just about surviving, kind of, and eventually he got really lucky. Obviously we live here and this is a really great place to be. But one of the things he's always said to me is that my career should... Well, actually, yesterday he was saying that happiness is the only thing that matters. And I think I'm really lucky to have a parent who like truly believes that, because I know a lot of parents believe in encouraging their children to be successful. And I think my dad has raised me with the opinion that passion creates happiness. And so if you have passion in the workplace or with whatever you're doing, you'll be a happier person and you'll have a happier life. And that's what really matters in the long run. You know, when you're older, obviously, like, being able to make enough money to survive comfortably also matters. But when you're older, as long as you're comfortable, happiness and the things that make you happy are the things you're going to remember, not like how much money you had in 2023. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I completely agree. I think success is tied to like foundational things like health, people, relationships, and passion. I feel like a good North Star to kind of follow is really just like the cliche concept of like love, like follow like be with people you love and do things that you love. I think like when you simplify life in that way, like I think it makes it a bit clear. But also this is coming from a very privileged perspective. Like as you said, like we are very lucky to be in this situation, and we are in this situation because of the sacrifices of previous generations and their hard work with their lives in the situations where they couldn't necessarily do what they love for a living, but they did what they had to do to survive, and that allows us to try to do what we love as like much as we can.
Yeah, I think I kind of have actually a little bit of a different personal perspective to it, and like this isn't to say like this is a universal sort of take, but I think my mindset, like just in going through like schooling and like trying to like find a career path has been like obviously I do want to be able to like what I do in terms of a career, but I also want to like, I feel like when you do something for work, at the end of the day, like you're committing to work, and it's like it might not be enjoyable throughout the entire process. So I feel like for me, I don't want to project the expectation that I'm going to have to love something because like it's what I'm doing for a living. So I think one of my goals, and once again like this is coming from like a place of privilege as well, and like but is ideally to have like a career that like I don't think it's important for me to like love exactly what I'm doing on a day-to-day basis, but I also want to make sure that like I can eventually like build up the time or the resources to do things outside of work that are also like part of my passions, like for example like even if I'm pursuing a certain career path, I still would want to be able to like have time to play music or draw and just like go outside and do things that aren't necessarily tied to work, because I think that's also a thing where I've seen like family members who like they work really hard about something they're really passionate about, but I think burnout does tend to catch out to people a lot of the times, even when it's something you love. And like I think that's kind of, it's like a sad thing where it's like even if you love something, there might be times you might not love it as much.
No, completely.
But I think being able to cultivate things outside of like what you do as like a career or like as part of like the way you earn your living is just a way to like continue to expand like your horizons as a person and diversify your experiences and interests and like skills as well, while also like being in a place that's comfortable enough to do that.
Awesome. Yeah, I completely understand where you're coming from. I think like a struggle for a lot of people is that like when they try to pursue what they love for a living, like once it becomes like work, like everyday work for them, they start to lose the passion for it and they start to lose the spark. So I think it really depends situation to situation, but some people would prefer to do like more traditional work as work and then keep their passions as hobbies, like outside of work. Like that might be more fulfilling to them and they might like prefer the stability of that. And I think it's just, there's no right or wrong answer. Nothing is better than the other, but it is really just like, I think it's really just preferences. And I also understand what you mean by like work should also kind of be work. I think like honestly, I think it should be like a healthy blend of like passions plus some kind of work. Like I think for me, I do want to become a founder, and that's not necessarily because I would love being a founder, but I think it's like my responsibility to solve a problem. And I think like like that would be, I guess I would see that kind of more as a work, and that would be considered more of work. But like I would also try to pursue my passions like on top of that. So I think it's just like a blend of whatever feels healthy to you.
I agree.
Yeah, I fully agree with that.
Do you guys have any more thoughts on like passions, like anything you want to share about like your personal passions or like what you've observed?
I like what Nivi said, because I agree that work will always end up being work on some level, because even if you love something, you'll burn out. I think that was really a good thing to say. I guess my general perspective is, as long as you fill your life with things that you love, like kind of small things, it'll always end up being okay, because you can experience burnout but you still have these other things that you love, you know, or you can lose a passion. For example, I had to stop going and doing something that I love a lot recently, just because of like some personal drama, but it's been a hobby of mine for like 12 years or something, and it's just not a part of my life anymore. And although it does make me sad, there are a lot of other things in my life that I also love, so it's not like I've lost the one thing that makes me happy in life. Do you know what I mean? It's interesting because there's a Netflix special with this comedian that I really like, named Daniel Sloss, and he kind of talks about it in one of his specials called Jigsaw, where it's like your life is a puzzle, and you just want to make sure that all your puzzle pieces are things that, not all, but like most of your like inner circle kind of puzzle pieces are the things that make you happy. And then that way you always have access to happiness. Do you know what I mean? You always have something in your life that will make you happy.
Yeah.
So
is it kind of like having a variety,
I think
of
so,
like different
like
things that make you
and
happy,
passions and community, people around you, but then also maybe your work does make you happy, and like all kinds of things like that, you know?
Yeah, completely. And I would like to add that like I feel like ultimately, like one thing I've learned for myself is that life isn't about passion as much as it's about people. Because you know the quote, it's like, oh, like what's more important, the journey or the destination? And then it was like, no, it's like the company or something like that. Like people are always debating like if it's like what you work on or what you're working towards, but in the end it's like the people you're surrounding yourself with. And I think like I think in high school I was like so obsessed with like pursuing your passions or like doing what you love. Wait, Baba, sorry, 还有时间吗? Oh, okay. I was like so obsessed with passions, pursuing what you love, and I thought I had to make the most out of my life by doing something impactful and meaningful, which I still believe I do, but like, which I still believe I should work towards. But I think in the end, the single most important thing was like my family and the people I surrounded myself with, like nothing, and my health, like nothing else came close to that. So yeah, I think it was a really a change in perspective. Sorry, do you have anything to add?
I think also to like build off of yours and Willow's points, like I really agree with like the idea of like maintaining diversity just like with passions and interests, because like I think it's one thing to like really be fixated on something you love and like work towards it, but I think one thing I've just found like getting older is I really like having a lot of different passions to fall back on, maybe I'm using passions like as like a like really general sort of term, but like I know like when there's like times like things don't go right, or if I'm having a bad day, it's like being able to turn to like media, like TV shows or movies, or even just like hobbies, interests, like, or once again like people. That's just something that I think it keeps me like happy, or and what was I gonna say? And I think I also agree with like the idea that it's like the people you're surrounding yourself with as well, like being a huge part, because like I think having passions for like different things in your life, it's like really good, but I feel like for me personally, it's like a lot of my life is just revolved around like my family or like my friends, and I think those are things that like no matter whether I like lose a passion or gain one, like those are things I want to have as like a constant, like the people.
I guess it's like ultimately not just like passions, it's just doing what you enjoy or doing what is like fun to you. Oh my gosh, doing like what is like fun to you. And I think like a lot of the times we want to do things for like self-improvement or like for the idea of like developing, but in the end I think it's even more worthwhile to do something just for the fun of it. Like for instance, I think like I used to want to read like a bunch of like self-help books and stuff like in high school, but then I realized like it's actually probably better use of my time to read what I like actually truly enjoy, which is more like fantasy. And I think like when you delve deeper into the things you actually love and enjoy, you can learn even more than when you do it purely for the sake of like self-improvement or something like that.
Yeah, that's really great.
Yeah. And also, sorry, one more point. I think like I think one of you guys mentioned this, but the idea of like doing something that we don't like, I think that's also kind of important. Like in life there's a lot of things that we don't like that we kind of have to do. I think that was kind of evident in like high school, where we had to take a bunch of courses that like I don't know like we like obviously we didn't like all the courses we took, but we had to work and study anyway. And I think that was just an example of, in order to learn some basic knowledge, I don't know, like you have to do things that you like might not enjoy doing.
Yeah, and I think kind of to add to that, that's one thing where it's like high school to college, like, and once again, like I'm really grateful for my high school education, and I'm like really, really grateful for my college education. But I think in college, I feel like I've become like more of a diversified like person in terms of like my knowledge and what I like choose to learn, just because of like having to do things I thought I wouldn't like or enjoy, just
for sure.
taking courses and like, or like being confronted with like new sorts of situations that like didn't have to deal with in high school. I feel like through doing that, it's like ways that I developed passions and kind of grew as a person as well. So it's like, yeah, like it's one thing to be passionate about something, but also experiencing things that like maybe you wouldn't think you like also like paves the way to build more passions or just like learn more about yourself.
Yeah,
like,
exactly. Yeah, you guys have a lot of wisdom and you guys are both really nice. I really like the points you shared, and I really like this conversation. It was really great talking to you guys. I enjoyed like talking, and I hope whoever watches this gains something too. They shared a lot of good stuff, but
you had a lot of good opinions too.
Yeah,
Oh,
it was
thank
really
you.
nice.
Great, thank you guys so much.